My name's Jay Judge. I'm the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Development and External Affairs here at Seton Hall, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2019 Seton Hall Athletics Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, our Director of Athletics, Pat Lyons.
So with that, as you all absolutely know, we lost a Hall of Famer this year who was truly, if there was a Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame people at Seton Hall, Coach Shep would be the first one on there. And so I just want to, it's really appropriate in my opinion to take a moment right now to take a couple of seconds to just have a moment of silence for Coach Shep. Thank you.
Next up from the baseball program, Rich Scheid.
I'm a recruiter. I've been recruiting now for a number of years, and when I go and see big, left-handed pitchers, I always think of Richie Scheid.
I could tell by the first day that Rich came in here that he has a lot of ability. He was tall, thin, lanky guy, left-hander, and you could tell that he could pitch.
Well, he was a quiet leader right from the first day that he stepped on campus. He was very committed. He set goals for himself that rubbed off on the entire team, myself included. Going from his freshman year, he was a tall, slender, toothpicky-looking guy. And he came back his sophomore year and he was built up, and he really took it to working out and strength training and all that other stuff that makes you a quality athlete.
As good as you think you are, personally, there were some things about Richie that just, every teammate knew. When you saw him warm up in the bullpen or in a game and you saw him throw his curveball, it was just a very different level. Yeah.
Back in the day, the bullpen was tucked away in the right corner, and the soccer goals would be disassembled and all the pipes would be sitting there, and I'd look out in the bullpen and there's Richie with this long pipe over his shoulders doing lunges. He's picking up big stones and doing arm exercises, and it was just really interesting to see how he took to the rigors of baseball and how he was able to use his surroundings and just use it to his advantage. I mean, watching him operate was a good thing for the entire baseball program.
His former coach, Shep, was talking about my dad's potential to be a first-round draft, and Coach Shep said he was the best left-hander in the East with a dangerous 90-mile-per-hour fastball that led him in 117 strikeouts that season. And Shep said, Rich does all of the little things, and that really stuck with me because I know that my dad worked so hard and practiced every day to be the absolute best that he could be.
Very quiet when he first came in here. The one thing that I remember about Rich when he first came in is he didn't speak. He didn't speak for probably a month and a half or so that he was here. Eventually, I think what we did to loosen him up a little bit is we wanted to take him to the pub.
And he could eat. He was tuned into, like I said, the strength training, the conditioning, but also the diet factor. And he'd be sitting there with a mound of carrots. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching him eat. And I'm like, Richie, what's with all the carrots? He's like, got to be able to see that strike zone.
But I remember in 1985 that it could have been Easter weekend. We were playing Pittsburgh, and I came up with a bum ankle and couldn't pitch. First time probably ever. So Richie went and pitched the first game that weekend, and the first game was always like a 7-inning game. And so not only did he have a complete game, but Richie also started the second game. So he picked me up like he always picked the team up, and that was really impressive because I think Richie went on to pitch at least 3 more innings of the second game, and he was unhittable.
But what stands out most is in 1984 we were up in Maine.
That was my junior year. Rich was a freshman, and we won I think 41 or 42 games that year.
It was one game. It was the finals, and it was the winner goes to Omaha, goes to the College World Series.
We thought, or the coaches thought so much of Rich at that point that Rich actually got the final game start against Maine, up in Maine.
And he pitched extremely well. and he kept us in the game the entire time.
We lost the game, but it wasn't Rich's fault. We didn't give him any run production, but that's how much they thought of Rich to give him the starting role in that final game to get us to the World Series.
That one game, I think, was huge not only for the university, but also for Richie Scheid.
So in big games, he was just always there for us.
And the impact that he had on the program was taking the traditions that were in place and just doing it. You know, he really was a no-nonsense guy. He still is. If you talk to him, you'll realize, you know, he's a no-nonsense guy, and he just likes to get the job done, not a whole lot of fanfare. So it's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say tonight.
He's done a lot in his career. He's done all he can in baseball. You know, Rich was an All-American here. Rich was played on Team USA, set all kinds of records at Seton Hall, played in the major leagues. I mean, there's nothing much more he could have done in baseball.
One thing that I'd be remiss not to mention is that Shep would be so proud to see Richie go into the Hall of Fame, and Rich was every bit the player that Shep loved in the program.
My dad is an extremely driven, determined, and inspiring person, and he's dedicated his life to the sport of baseball. And his love for the sport is truly special, and it has been an amazing opportunity to see him dedicate his time coaching and mentoring young athletes over the years.
On the field, he was, like I said, a guy that you would watch, a guy that you would want to be like, not only for our upperclassmen, but also the freshman class that came in. Richie took them under their wing. He treated them really well. He showed them the different aspects of what it's like to be a Pirate. So he embodies all that Seton Hall baseball is all about.
It is an honor and privilege for me to present to you
For induction into the Seton Hall University Athletics Hall of Fame,
The Red Rocket.
My dad, Rich Scheid.
It's a great honor to be recognized here tonight, and first and foremost, congratulations to all the 2019 Hall of Fame inductees. Over the past 30 years, I've attended many Seton Hall events and have met some great people who have had an impact both on and off the field to the success of Seton Hall. Along with my former teammates tonight, coaches here tonight, I'd like to congratulate Phyllis Shepard on last year's induction. Since my very first time on a campus back in '84, all the events you've been to, road trips, golf outings, I really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you very much. I'd like to personally thank Jay Judge, Rob Shepard, Pat Lyons, on a consideration and nomination of me joining such a great group of individuals who have been recognized for their achievements and commitment to Seton Hall athletics. I became familiar with Seton Hall growing up on Staten Island. I guess early in my high school years, there was always some players from Seton Hall who had some tremendous success here. So you could always read about them in the Staten Island Advance. You were over there, so. One day I remember Seton Hall and Wagner on the back page of the sports section. There was a big article about a game they played. It was a picture of a bunch of players on top of one another. A brawl erupted during the game. I think Shep was right in the middle of it from what I remember seeing. And I think we can get that photo from maybe a Jay Price or somebody over there someday. So, over the years, Staten Island has seen a number of players go on and have great success here at the university, and I hope that trend continues. My decision to come to Seton Hall was an easy one for me after meeting Ed Blankmeyer in June of my senior year after pitching a game at Tottenville High School. I did have some other offers, but about a week or so later, Shep came to my house. I signed her a letter of intent and a full scholarship to play baseball at Seton Hall. Making a transition to Division I baseball is sometimes a big adjustment for a young athlete, but I was very fortunate to have played at a great high school baseball program on the island, which prepared me for playing at the next level. At the time I came on campus, the only as you've heard from a couple of these guys here. The only thing I needed to know was when I was scheduled to pitch, what dorm was I going to live in, and what time the cafeteria opened up. For a period of time, I had no understanding of proper study habits and commitment required in a classroom. Sorry, Katie. Until I bought into Mike Shepard's constant reminder to go to every class, do all the work, and ask for help. I will always appreciate the encouragement that Shep and Ed Blankmeyer gave me towards finally completing my college degree several years into my professional baseball career. When your major league career ends, you do one of two things. You stay in the game in some capacity, or you change careers completely. I chose the latter. It's had a big impact on what I do today. There was certainly a lot of talent on the teams I played for in the mid-'80s. Some of them are here tonight that had an impact on me. Former major leaguer and '84 Olympic team member Pat Pasillo. I was able to follow in his footsteps and play on Team USA in '95 after my sophomore year. Phil Kandari, an outstanding college coach, high draft pick, and who in the first year of the Big East Conference gave me incentive every weekend series, as he mentioned on the video, to follow up one of his great pitching performances with one of my own. Doug Sinella, he was a workhorse. We were both drafted in 1986, and he pitched during that summer in '86. He pitched one of his back-to-back no-hitters against me in our first year of professional baseball. He was playing with the Orioles A-ball team. I was with the Oneonta Yankees farm club, and I think the game ended in 1-0, and he pitched another no-hitter next week. So thanks for everybody for being here tonight. Ed Blankmeyer is here tonight. Encouraged me to think big of playing in the major leagues. A tremendous teacher and recruiter, guided me and countless other players through playing in the right summer leagues for pro baseball exposure. We all owe him a debt of gratitude towards his commitment to this program while he was here. I'd like to get that wedding photo of when you and Susan were walking down out of the chapel, and Shep got 6 of us to put on our baseball uniforms, walk across campus. They were coming out of the chapel. He had 6 wooden bats, and 3 of us started on each side. So I was like, what are you asking us to do? What are we doing? But Mike Shepard, what can you say about him that hasn't already been said? I'll never forget him and the opportunity he gave me. Always there for me, whether it was my contract negotiations with the Yankees being locked up in that seminary building across from the baseball field here on campus, with Yankee front office people when I first signed in '86, making it easy for me to register for fall classes to complete my degree. I was speaking to Rob Shepard a couple weeks ago when I was up here. My daughter was playing in a state softball tournament. We talked about a few things, but I think coming up with some kind of a deserving award in Mike Shepard's honor. Shep was a walk-on. Try to come up with an award for a deserving senior who's graduating, who's a walk-on, who's excelled on the field and in a classroom. I think it would be something we can really maybe present at the annual golf outing on a yearly basis that can honor his legacy. I'd like to see 500 people at the golf outing next fall. I think it's definitely doable with trying to do something like that. My family's here tonight. My wife, Roberta, always there with me during my baseball career and still to this day, dealing with all the twists and turns of playing professional baseball, moving to a new city, packing and unpacking a new apartment, making unexpected travel arrangements, traveling to winter ball in Venezuela with a 2-year-old. My younger daughter, Katie, who will be the maid of honor for her older daughter's wedding August 4th, who was on the video. I enjoyed putting the speech together tonight, but I'll have it's a little more pressure on me next, about 6 weeks from now with Brianna's, so. My brother Chris, his 2 boys, one of which attends Seton Hall Prep. I told him to work on his golf game this summer. He's a member over at Springbrook. If you go over to Springbrook and play, and you need a good caddy, go into the clubhouse and ask for Lucas. My parents are here tonight, always supportive of me in my baseball career, always traveled to Seton Hall games, was sitting next to Phyllis Shepard back in the 80s and back in Orono, Maine. They always followed my career and my teammates. There is nothing more important that a parent can do to encourage and support your kids when they are doing something they love, and my parents have been doing that ever since day one. Mike Shepard. Mike Shepard had his famous saying, "Never lose your hustle." Well, after tonight, I'll never lose mine for Seton Hall. Thank you very much.